Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the start of a new EU4 Let's Play. Now you may have noticed that, well, for one, there's not been a lot of content on the channel, but in general, Portal Paraz hasn't been going up. That's because the recent update broke the save. I did try forcing the game to reload it, incompatible save, load it, but don't do that with your games. It didn't look nice. So what I've been doing instead is, because I always like to try and do something which almost certainly hasn't been done before, which usually involves me creating my own little scenarios, I've created a new one. Now, I'm going to load into the map and see if you guys can notice what I've changed. Gonna give you a little bit of time. Not that it really matters, because you might just scroll forward and scroll back and comment and say, "Oh yeah, I noticed it." But yeah, honestly, guys, let me know if you can notice it from this. How many of you are that familiar with the map? You can see what I've changed. There is a change on the map. There is a new nation. Okay, I've given it long enough. We have the new nation of House York. Now, there's best way of looking at it, this is a alternate history scenario. In 1444, instead of House Lancaster just trying to marginalise the House York claimants, they outright killed them all. Or they thought they did. However, Edmund of House York, who had been born just a year ago, was born on the continent, and for whatever reason, his mother was visiting somebody in East Frisia. I can't quite find a historical basis for any tie between his mother and East Frisia. There are some ties to within the Holy Roman Empire, but I specifically picked East Frisia because it's near but not in the Holy Roman Empire. But yeah. So with the death of all the House York claimants, a lot of their loyal supporters with swords flooded to the banners of the last remaining claimant, overthrowing the government in East Frisia and instating themselves. The mod's currently a bit bugged where it says no government. I've had to put in a mission to fix that, which will run at the start. I can't work it out why it's not doing it. I've had other people look at it and it should work, but it doesn't. Now, House York itself has its own ideas. Oh no, Mr. Coaster made me the localization file for this. I think I forgot to type in. I'll tweak the mod again before we actually record part one. But let's look at House York's ideas. The starting ideas: a yearly prestige -5, a yearly prestige K plus 15%, a yearly legitimacy -1. So that's -5 a year and -1 a year, and the decay plus 15%. Basically, if you're a king in exile, a king and, a baby claiming to be, King of England, you're not going to have much prestige and you're not going to have much legitimacy, being that you just stole the province that you're in. And once you've completed all of ideas, we get national manpower -25%. I think I'm going to be swapping that out with one of the other ideas. I'm not sure. I'm still not completely sure on the order. I just wanted to get this part 0 recorded because I found that talking through things, that's like I'm talking to you guys, helps me figure out what I'm going to do. Also, he's a 000, just like Henry Lancaster. But Henry Lancaster's a fully grown man. This kid... Oh yeah, and I've got to change his house to York at the minute, it says temp. This kid is... He's 1 year old. And he is a historical character, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. He is a son of... is it Richard of York? The claimant of House York at the time, the main claimant. The one who actually was often set as regent for the Lancastrian king. But apart from that, he was very much marginalised, and that's what sort of led to the War of Roses. Now, the War of Roses should be turned off. Obviously, instead of a War of Roses happening in this timeline, they killed all the Yorkists, and what was left have, fled to my banner. Which is, my little flag here, which is the White Rose of York, on a blue background with a yellow line for the N sign. I've done my best to hide it. I haven't quite got it lined up properly. But it means there's a yellow line on the ships, but it doesn't show up on the troops or the things. But it doesn't show up on troops, but it does show up on navies. Let's quickly just load in. Now, I've also tried trolling through English history to create missions for it, because obviously, just playing as this, trying to conquer this, and of course France, because remember, the King of France is actually a pretender. The King of England should be the King of France, and I should be the King of England, so one of the rules is no alliance with France, no alliance with England. But we have extra missions. Let's just quickly select the temp mission so you can see what actual government would have. It should just auto-complete. Yeah. They're not too bad little allies. Although, if you was friendly, that'd be better. But anyway, we're not actually playing this particular stat. I'm just sort of showing you as a part 0. Yeah, we're outside the Empire. Our first 2 missions, and by the way, we should really be in a Regency Council, but for some reason, actually, that might be what's breaking it, because I haven't specifically set a Regency Council. Because historically speaking, I would want my mother leading a Regency Council, because she's the one who brought the child over here. She's not actually a claimant to the throne, because it was on his father's side. But I can look into that. That's something which I think I might have finally figured out. Which no one on the Paradox forums, I didn't actually get a reply to them questions. I think it was because the quick questions thing was going by too quickly. Yeah, lots of people were asking questions at the time, but yeah. But anyway, if we look at our missions, this is where I've done most of it, because I don't tend to like events. They seem to be... I don't know why, my head doesn't seem to work to make events properly, and they mean time to happen. I'm like, no, I want it to fire now or now or now. So instead I've used missions. And we have His Man in Germany and Get the Laudabilita reissued. I am probably mispronouncing that. Basically, His Man in Germany. I'm using this as, for instance, William of Normandy, when he became King of England, he had previously pledged to be the French king's man in France. But obviously that didn't mean he was his man in Germany. The idea was, he could have lands in France, and the lands in France are, but should be in France, are obviously still under the French throne. But he was his own man in England, because obviously he was a king. Now, the French didn't really get that, and of course this is definitely revisionist history and from an English point of view, and that's sort of what led to a lot of the fighting. It was, well, no, you're my subject, whether you have England or not. If you have England and you're my subject, then England's under me. This is where a lot of the problems between France and England probably started. But because of that, we've got His Man in Germany. We are in the German region. Now, this mission is actually mission something, and basically, it's suck up to the Emperor. Have at least 100 relations, be allied, and it should say in there, be a member of the HRE. However, every time I try to add that, the mission breaks, so it doesn't at the minute. And this gives you even less prestige per month, gives you a bit more diplomatic reputation, a less legitimacy, because, as we said, historically with the France thing, it didn't really work. So I didn't want this mission to be purely good. And it gives you an extra diplomatic relations slot, because a lot of going down that tree of missions is going to require you to be allied with the Emperor. So a lot of the missions, I'm giving extra diplomatic relations slots. It might be a bit OP. So when we actually do start playing, I might play a week of this, get your guys' opinions on the missions that we see and how they should be balanced, and we may end up restarting to make it more balanced, or I might be able to amend them on the fly. But I'm hoping to get this out into a state where, I can let you guys download it as well. Now, the Laudaber was a papal bull from Pope Adrian, and I believe it was ratified and, confirmed by another Pope, Alexander. I could be getting this wrong, but effectively, this is the document which, after the Strongbow taking over Leinster thing, which technically we sort of had rights to, he married the... In return for Strongbow, who was a earl in Wales somewhere, helping the petty king of Leinster get his land back because the High King of Ireland had took it away from him, he was married to the the petty king of Leinster's daughter. I don't know whether he had any sons, but effectively, once he did it, he made the petty king of Leinster abdicate in favour of his daughter, who basically made Strongbow the king in Leinster. But anyway, that's on a side note. That comes after. Actually, that historically comes before, but in the tree that we're going through, it will come after. The papal bull, the Labatur, granted the kings of England. I didn't specifically mention a title, but it was effectively granting them the title of the Lordship of Ireland. It gave them papal legitimacy to conquer Ireland, under the agreement that they was going to treat the Irish fairly and all things, which probably really didn't happen, especially with a lot of the Normans who went over. But so again, it's a suck-up mission. These two were supposed to be like, while I'm in a Regency Council, you had to give me something to do. And also, the papal bull actually stated that a one penny pension would be paid to the local churches, sort of like a tax, to help fund them. That was a requirement that he was going to have to do. So if we get that passed, we lose tax modifier, but we gain an extra diplomat. Basically we can use one of our priests as a diplomat, diplomatic reputation and legitimacy. Because this original papal bull was the King of England, So if the Pope was to reissue it stating that, we are the rightful person that this bull was talking about, this is sort of the Pope saying, we are the legitimate King of England. Now, that still doesn't anywhere make up for what we get in elsewhere, in reductions in legitimacy, but I thought it was sort of fair. Now, his man in Germany basically makes us feel safe in our continental territories, because we'll have the Emperor defending us. We'll most likely have some other HRE allies here, so we'll feel safe there. And that'll lead down a tree which, I mean, I don't want to state out the specific tree, but I can see historic claims for the King of England to own Brittany, to own Provence, to own all of France, to own all of Ireland. In one form or another, I'm not necessarily saying direct control. A lot of these missions won't be just conquer. In fact, the majority of these missions are to take on vassals, and the idea is you end up with too many vassals, and they hate you. I'm doing my best to try and keep it balanced. Own the forts in Scotland. It was Normans who originally conquered Sicily, which, of course, I mean Naples and Sicily. They are the one region. Cyprus and the Kingdom of Jerusalem. There's possible documentation I could call on to say Albania. But effectively there'll be lots of little missions to try and build us up some strength so that we can eventually take on England. Now there's even missions which will relate to, for instance, Amethia, which as if this patch actually can exist. So if we can break Meath out, there'll be specific missions similar to the Connacht, Tyrone, and Munster ones for Meath. I think they'll be similar for Northumberland, which I really do feel Northumberland should have claims up here as well, and all the way down to here. Because historically, I think Northumberland even actually had Mercia, which would be sort of the northern part of Lincoln on this map. Break Wales out. I think we should be able to tag swap back to England once we've made them small enough. But what we may actually have to do instead is try and go straight for Great Britain, because I'm not too sure how it would work. Which would mean we'd need like this, and this. These 5 bits of land. And if these exist, obviously we'd need them as vassals. But yeah, the plan is to take back the throne of England and the throne of France. We've also had Mr. Coaster, by the way, is the gentleman who did the ideas. He even started the localization for me to show me how to do it, but I haven't filled it all in. My fault. So I asked him to get ones which, really hurts. Have I gone through them yet? No, I didn't. I did the starting ones. So, like, rubbish diplomats lose diplomatic reputation. See, this is why a lot of the missions give back diplomatic reputation. The ideas are normally a good thing. In this case, they're a bad thing. But if we can get through the missions quicker than what we end up getting ideas, we'll be in a good standing. If we end up having to get ideas quicker than what we can complete the missions, we'll be in a worse standing. So it's the... Try to make it a bit different. But rubbish diplomats, I've just said that one, are losing support. Unrest goes up, stability cost modifier goes up, morale of armies and navies goes down. Living like a king. National tax modifier goes down, autonomy change goes up. Effectively, I'm spending more money than I have, and the people are slowly thinking, if we can take the power away from him, this is probably not a terrible idea. End of the line. Now, this is one which I think I'm going to move to the end, because it makes sense. And effectively, minus 90% for new heirs. I think in a couple of generations, House York will be gone, at best, once that becomes a thing. So if we haven't tag swapped to either Great Britain or England by that point, yeah, screwed. Because if I'm no longer House York as, House York, that's going to be the end of the scenario. I appear to have missed this one in the localization, but Rubbish Overlord. So we'll lose global tariff, imperial authority will go down, liberty desire goes up. I think income from vassals and maybe manpower contribution from vassals I want to add to that. But I think you guys can say, I asked Mr. Coast to give us some really harsh ideas, and he did. Lancastrian assassins. Yeah, I do want this second to last, but probably effectively, national spy defense minus 200%, aggressive expansion impact goes up. These are two things which will make people want to kill us. Untrusted merchants. If you're a merchant saying, oh yeah, I'm an English merchant, they're like, no, them guys are the English merchants you seem to have came from Germany. It's not going to help your trade. They've all got very good historic reasons, I would say in character reasons for existing. Oh yeah, and obviously you are the Yorkist Parliament. I'm so tempted to swap out the English flag to the Lancastrian one and have us go straight to Great Britain. So on the map we see the Yorkist rose. Look, the flag on land is just the shield, and the navy has an ensign, slightly different. I don't believe that was ever intended as a game mechanic, but I like it. Also, because I couldn't think what other colours apart from the white rose of York, the background colours there are effectively the Leeds United away colours, because, basically one of the biggest football teams in the, like, York area. Like, not York area, in the Yorkshire area. My dad's a Leeds United supporter, so I recognise the colours. What else was I going to be covering? Oh, yeah. We have some other goals as well. Let me quickly load up the House Team forum, which currently looks horrendous because it's not got any theme on it at all, but it's specifically done because the current theme that I had just didn't want to work. I'm not sure how much of these are all going to be incorporated, but this was a suggestion from Mr. Coaster before he sort of knew what I was doing, and I think I can incorporate it. His challenge was that we need to become the... We need to become the Emperor. We need to unite the Holy Road Empire, and as fast a time frame as we can manage. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a fast. Get princes in check, outside powers neutered, unite them all and crush them under the Empire. Sorry, like, there's capitalizations in this explanation mark, so I should be reading this out a lot better. But basically, all reforms must be completed. We must choose a country that starts the game as a HRE member, apart from Austria, Bohemia, Brandenburg, Bavaria, and any Italian nation. So basically, this is like a German minor. Now, technically, we're not starting in the HRE, but you know, basically the first mission that I'm going to go for should require me, but doesn't require me to join the HRE. So, I think, yeah, you have to let me off on that one. We need to keep at least 40 princes inside the HRE at the second to last reform. So once we revoke the privileges, there should be at least 40 members of the HRE. There's 55 at the start, so I might actually have to bring a good number of them back, or maybe even create more. Retain full control of the original imperial territory, and no states must be allowed to leave. Every nation which opposes the second to last reform will have to be conquered. Basically, if anyone says no to the "you're all my vassals, bitches," we have to make them our vassals. Securing the imperial borders. France cannot exist. Burgundy cannot exist. Poland / the Commonwealth cannot exist. So if the Commonwealth forms, yeah, I've got no choice but late game, I've got to go and kill them. Hungary cannot exist. Italian region must be owned by the player, because by default it should almost certainly fall out. Now, as we said, there's historical reasons for southern Italy, the Sicily region. The Italian region, or the Lombard region as I think the game calls it, we'll probably have to look into that, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a mission which is sort of along the lines of his man in Italy, but I can't think how to code that yet. We've got also what he's put down as a bridge of the gap, which is the HRE territory must extend inside mainland Britain. Now, we're going to be playing as eventually hoping to become Britain, so effectively, Mr. Costa said he's tested this and it works. If we can extend the border of the HRE down to Calais, then you can spread it over to Kent. And from Kent, you can spread it to the rest of the mainland British Isles, I think including these guys, and probably Norway, because that's now just one sea province. So probably Iceland. I don't know if we need Iceland, but yeah. And he said to start at the earliest possible date. Well, we will be doing. So yeah, that's sort of what the next EU4 campaign is going to be. I know I've waffled on for quite a bit. And let's see, what did I need to fix? I should have been making notes as I was doing this. A little bit of localization. Add Regency. I think that was everything. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Hopefully I'll be recording the start of this session today. So I might not hear what you have to say before, like, the first, say, week's worth of episodes go up. But what you guys sort of like say now and what you say during while the episodes are going up is going to be like whether we end up restarting and rebalancing, whether I rebalance on the fly or basically I need input. You know, I say this a lot, but I do. Trying to do this like solely just in your own head it doesn't work. You need input from other people. But as always, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for watching. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to say goodbye. Goodbye.